Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters, and debunkers. I was handed this by one of the debunkers who came to my channel. Sorry, I can't remember who you are. Your comment and link got lost in all the other debunkers rushing to have a pop. So I would mention you if I could remember who you are, but sorry, I simply don't. But this is a great opportunity to clear up this gross misunderstanding amongst globe Earth defenders who insist that flat earthers are too stupid or ignorant to understand the concept that's being illustrated here. So I'd like to obviously try and clarify that and say that yes, it's well understood that if you're on a sphere and that sphere is imagined to be just in the middle of nowhere with no relationship to anything else, then down becomes towards the center of that sphere. This is not a difficult concept to understand, and it is understood that in the globe Earth model, then down is considered you being pulled down towards the center of the Earth by this magical gravitational force, which is apparently caused by the mass of the Earth. So the model is understood. It's understood that the gigantic mass of the Earth causes weight, if that's what the model is. But the problem is, are we able to prove this? Has it ever been proven? And no, it hasn't. It's just an assumption and a theory that goes to help make the model work. People talk about a working model, but we don't have one yet because it's never been proven that the Earth's mass is spherical, and it's never been proven that this mass is what causes us to have weight on or above the Earth. People talk about, as it says here, at each point he is perpendicular at right angles to the direction of gravity's pull. Okay, so again, we understand the concept that if you're on a circle, wherever you are on the circle, then down is towards the center of that circle. But this does not prove in any way that that's what's actually happening on the Earth. And this is where the problem comes when we are given all these theories and stories and theories on top of theories as to how everything works, and people talk about a working model. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's never been proven. It's never been proven that we have any curvature on the surface of the Earth. And when we talk about level, we can, it shows that the word level can be misconstrued. Of course, for this person in this model on the left or on the right, then their level is parallel or perpendicular to the alleged down. But is there a force pulling them down towards the center of the spherical Earth? All those things are assumptions. It's assumed that the Earth is a sphere, it's assumed that the Earth has a certain mass, and it's assumed that the Earth's specific mass creates our weight above and on the Earth. All assumptions. Based on what? Based on looking up at the sky and seeing the sun and the moon being spherical and planets being spherical, and assuming that the Earth is another planet. Just an assumption, just from looking up. Sure, we see moons going around planets, Jupiter, Saturn, whatever, and we see a moon in our own sky, and then, but we have to make this leap of faith, literally, that we are one of these things that we see in the sky. And apparently it's all been worked out, and we have this working model of the globe Earth, but we have no physics whatsoever that actually matches this idea. And of course, we're considered stupid for dropping something and asking whether it should continue to roll down a curve, because of course it doesn't matter where you are, but down is always towards the center of the sphere. Well, yeah, we get the concept, but where's the proof? Where's the physical proof? Has it ever been proven as our physical reality? And the truth is, it hasn't. It's just been repeated so often and taught as fact. that we're apparently stupid for questioning this and asking if it is in fact true or has ever been proven. So there is the difference between measurable proof, real physics, the measure of substance, and the idea or the theory built upon the theory. So again, we've got this theory that we're going around the sun and that we are on a sphere. Of course, if you start off with the idea that the Earth is going around the sun, then you have to make the Earth a spinning sphere in order to justify day and night. That's the only way you can make it work. So that's what came first. The heliocentric model came first, and then for many, many years they were trying to justify the idea that the Earth was orbiting and spinning around the sun in order to have day and night and fit this model. So did anyone ever discover that it was a globe? Did anything happen there to for these people hundreds of years ago who couldn't even fly up into the sky and look down on the Earth? Did they discover it? No, they just discovered a way to explain it and describe gravity and describe the cause of gravity. So then they had to assume that the lights we see in the sky are very distant and very massive, and it is their mass that creates a pull towards them, and that everything's spinning because of a big bang, and it all came together, and we grew up as fish and then monkeys and then climbed down from the trees, and then we became smart enough to perceive ourselves as being on this ball. And aren't we clever for being able to do that? And aren't we stupid if we cannot even perceive it as being that way? We can all perceive it as being that way, but now we're even smarter and asking for the proof, and those smart people who created the mathematical formula somehow can't seem to provide the proof, and that's where the problem is, and that's why flat Earth is gaining momentum, and the globe Earth belief is becoming more and more obvious that it's just a cult belief that has been impressed upon us and programmed into us without an ounce of physical proof, and it's been confused and it's passed off as science when really it's just a creation story that replaces intelligent design with an accidental cosmic bang, and then replaces a god, if you will, with a god of gravity that can push and pull and squeeze and crunch and turn everything into spheres. So that becomes obvious that gravity is the god of the heliocentric model, because that's what makes everything stick together and work whichever way you want it to work. But it's never ever been proven as a scientific physical fact. Yeah. So this goes on to explain here that only at the top of the hill, this hill here on top of the larger Earth, is he perpendicular at right angles. This guy here is only experiencing down as straight down. Going up or down the hill, he is not perpendicular, so he is not level. So either the guys either side are not level, because we've assumed that they are being pulled down to the center of this spherical Earth. But of course, you just look at this in this particular view, and you can ask yourself what would happen to water if it was poured down here and then around here. Where would it stop flowing? Could you pour water on this upside down? Theoretically, you could, but you can't prove it, can you? So we have this level being defined and manipulated as a concept, whereas level, and especially eye level means a horizontal line of sight that is parallel to the flat surface. Okay, that's what eye level means. It doesn't mean looking up and anywhere you like, and that's still your eye level. The center of your field of view is important, but eye level means looking straight ahead and out in a horizontal parallel line of sight to the surface. And yes, the horizon does rise to your eye level when you do that, especially when you are only 1 or 2 meters off the surface. So this is perspective. That's what perspective does. It makes a flat surface appear to rise to your eye level. And we're going to have a look at the optical effect that it creates and the fact that horizons are nothing to do with curvature whatsoever. So this was the first thing I looked into when I heard about the flat earth, and I wasn't a flat earther at first. It was just looking and seeing what can or cannot be proven about the so-called model. And of course, we are told that the horizon is where curvature is either rising up in front of you or it's coming down. It's the start of a curve away from you. And I quickly realized by just looking and doing some experiments that horizons have nothing to do with curvature. It's an optical effect that makes the surface appear to rise to your eye level when you look straight ahead, whether you're low to the ground or high up in the air. And it also makes everything above you appear to come down to meet in the middle. That's what perspective is, and that's why globe earth defenders have had to try to deny perspective is a thing at all, until recently, where they finally got to grips with the fact that you have to somehow include perspective. But this is the problem, and you get this observer's point of view, and then it's translated into this orthographic point of view that we can see on the screen here. And in that translation, perspective is ignored and turned into an imaginary curve beneath our feet, which is also physically impossible. Yeah, so that's why perspective is so crucial to the whole thing here, because it's very clear that perspective, the three-dimensional perspective of the observer is translated into this alleged physical curve. But when you look at horizons, they are not created by curvature. They are created by perspective. And the globe earth defenders know this, they realize this, and that's why they have to start off denying that perspective has any effect on any observations we make. And that's just ridiculous. It really is insane that people will deny this so strongly, but of course it's understood why they have to do it. And of course all our observations that have attempted to define the globe earth model have been done by looking up at the sky and seeing things go off into the distance, and the sun set and what have you come up from the horizon, go around above our heads or curve across the horizon or the sky. And this has been interpreted as us being on a spinning globe earth, and we've been told that the stars are billions and billions of miles away in order to fit with the globe earth model. Whereas when we look, we can see and feel that the sun is close, the moon is close, well, even though we don't know what they are. Again, we've got this assumption that the sun is this ball of mass, and it has to be a ball of mass because the whole gravity heliocentric model is based on everything being mass. So you have to make the ball massive, and it just goes on and on and on. All these bits of so-called proofs stitched together to create the heliocentric model. So anyone that actually looks into it will start to realize that all these compartmentalized explanations are just that. They're just explanations that really don't fit together and have never actually been proven to be our physical reality. The fact that you have to claim that the sun is 93 million miles away, yet it looks the same size and same distance as the moon, and it behaves in the same way, is completely ignored, because it has to be for this heliocentric model in order to make everything match up. Same goes for the stars, telling us they're billions of light years away. And it's just, none of these are measurements, but people will tell you it's a fact, and they will deny that there is any possibility that it's any different. And that is just programming. That's a religious belief. It's literally a leap of faith to believe in the physically impossible. So after creating the heliocentric model and having to have a spinning globe in order to justify day and night, they had to come up with calculations based on the model, and eventually they had to come up with an explanation of how we can do the physically impossible and stick to a spinning ball Earth. Oh, well, gravity and mass attracts mass, and then everything is mass. The stars are mass, and they're all falling, and we're all falling with it, and we're falling around the sun, and it all got going with a big bang, and we grew up to be monkeys that got smart, and we can now claim to be really smart because we can perceive ourselves as being on this spinning ball. It's just insane when you look at it all and try to put it together and realize that you can't. Yeah. So that hopefully is got across, that this model is understood, and you can make a model work in of the model itself. But when you try to apply it to reality, it's a different story. We can see further than we should be able to see, and there are many other things that come into play that are not taken into consideration, or excuses are made for in order to perpetuate this globe Earth belief. So yeah, all right, we get the concept, we get the model, but is it our reality? Certainly not. No way. So you can make all your excuses and accusations and name calling about us not understanding the concept. We get it, but you can't prove it. You can't demonstrate that this level over here on the right and this level over here on the left is any different or the same to the level of the guy in the middle. Level is level, and that's horizontal. You can claim that level remains level as you go around the sphere, but there's no denying the fact that once you get away from the original level, you start to become perpendicular and even opposite to where your up and down was. And has that ever been proven? Has the curvature ever been measured? Is there any way to prove that we actually stick to the surface? We don't stick to the surface like magnets. In fact, in order to believe and perceive this model, you have to believe that the heavier something is, the more easily it will stick in all directions around a sphere. Yeah? There is no physics to do that. Even magnets don't work like that. And if we were stuck to the Earth and gravity was like a magnet, we wouldn't even be able to walk. Okay? It's ridiculous. We can jump up in the air and come back down again. And of course, we can leave the Earth and come back down again, and the Earth doesn't spin beneath us. All that jazz. Yeah, when you try to put all these things together, and all the little factoids that people like to bring out, and Coriolis effect and spin and blah blah blah, none of it all actually fits together properly. So this is why the flat earther eventually gets to where they are, realizing that we're definitely not on a spinning ball Earth, and it's flat and stationary and level as far as we can tell, especially because of the physics of water and other things like that. But the rest of it remains an ongoing exploration. We don't know the dimensions and the limits of the Earth. We've obviously been told porky pies, so why should we come up with alternatives? Why should we come up with an alternative explanation for the sun when it's clear that we just don't know what it is? It's a light that is affected by perspective, but it's so much more massive than anything else we can physically touch or is tangible in our reality. It's way up there in the sky, so making demands, etc., about the sun is ridiculous. We don't have alternative explanation. We can come up with all sorts of explanations and make stories, but the fact is that we don't have proof, and this is what we're trying to get back down to, is establishing what can or cannot be proven. So we all know that we can talk about what level is or what level isn't, or what it might be, and how you might be able to perceive it or model it. But can you attach the model to reality? This is the difference between physics, science, and belief or scientism. Where do you draw the line? Where do you get the physical proof, the measurable proof of the model? Yeah. So, all right, we get it. We understand that. It's not rocket science, but it's certainly not proof in any way that this is where we live. Yeah? So let's move on to this one. I like this one. This is a chap who's, was it Olivier Joseph, who says, "How I destroyed flat earth idiocy. Water finds its level." It's good to see. We've got, good old Wolfie's there. Wonderful video, and he got a nice heart and a big long conversation. Blah, blah, blah. So what do we see here? Let's have a look at what we get. I'll just put this on the widescreen. So he basically took some footage at a very low level across the water and claims that he's watching planes go down behind the curve. There we go, Marseille. Now watch this. We have an Airbus coming down to land at the airport in the distance, and it will disappear behind the curve. Voila. There we go. Isn't that wonderful? Apparently this is proof that the Earth is curved. All right, we'll see it again. Yes, we'll watch that once more if you like. There we go. Big A340. Big planes. Voila. And there it goes. So, this is supposed to be proof of the curve. So, yeah, that's that. So, how can we... Whoa, let's try and get out of that then. Let's have a look at this in comparison. This is something I did a few years ago.
Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters, and debunkers.
Turn down the volume there. Just get to this place. And now what we're looking across a flat playground here. Okay. And it's only 100 meters or so. And we see... Okay, the main bit I wanted to show you was... Oh, no, we've gone past that. Okay, where are we? Let's have a look. Oh, dear, 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 dear. I think it's around here. Basically, I put something on the floor. We can see all kinds of distortion going on here and mirroring and what have you. So this is just, okay, it's hot. There's a lot going on the surface, but that's what you get. But the point I wanted to show you is somewhere around here, I think. Yeah. Now I put a tin down on the floor, and it drops, and there you go. It disappears. We'll see that again in a second. Okay, tin on the floor, flat surface. It falls over, and boop. It's disappeared. We can just about see the top. Okay, so let's compare that to this aeroplane footage. There it is. Coming in. Okay, let's bring up that video. So, okay, we've got this tin has managed to disappear, and this aircraft disappears. Just about to see the top there. Okay, so we've got basically exactly the same phenomenon, something disappearing down what appears to be a curve or a dip, but it's not. It's just this is an optical effect. Call it what you want, but this is what's happening. Yeah, so this certainly is not proof of curvature. This is a repeatable optical phenomenon that can occur, especially when you're very low to the surface. I think back in the early part of the video, he said he was 60 centimeters above the water, so just over half a meter above the water. and you get this kind of distortion. That's exactly what you do get. You get these kind of troughs of whatever it's the light bending, refraction, diffraction, whatever you want to call it. It's just something that we can observe across a flat surface, just as we see in this video. Okay, so interestingly enough, instead of this being proof of a globe Earth, what he shows at the end is these aircraft that appear to just rise up from the surface. Now I wonder, there's one there. I think we could have another one. No? Okay, now let's try it again. Go back here. A last one. So we can see that the aircraft is about to rise up from what appears to be beyond the curve of the Earth. There it goes. Okay. Of course you can see as it comes up that there's a lot of distortion. Yeah, alright, just watch a couple more of these. Lovely dramatic music. Get you all emotion about it. The birth of a plane welling from the water. Okay, here's the last one again. Vroom. There it goes, okay. Well, what does that also suggest? There is an alternative explanation for this. You can't put that down to curvature. It also shows us how it's possible for the sun to get to that point because of perspective and then get swallowed up by the horizon. So thank you to this chap, Olivier, for providing observational evidence that the sun can in fact disappear as it goes off into the distance, just like these aircraft here would disappear if they were going backwards. Yeah, there it is, emerging from the water, and it's getting mirrored as it comes up. So you can see that there's lots of distortion. This line here isn't the horizon line. There's a whole lot of distortion going on above this line, and this is where things disappear in the distance. Yeah, and all those people that have good cameras, if you're defending the globe, you can see this and you can make these comparisons, but no, you're just going to carry on denying what it actually is. Okay, and another thing we should take note of is that the physics of water. Okay, so here we're told to believe or perceive that right here we have this bulge or curve of water that's higher than this aircraft, or almost as high as this aircraft. So the airport is effectively below the curvature of the Earth, just a few miles in front across this water. I'll tell you what, let's have a look at what actually happens to water. Yeah, this is when the tsunami hit Japan. Yeah, this is what happens to water when it reaches a point, when it gets too high. It doesn't just hold a bulge, it will flow. And it will flow. So if you can imagine that airport being down here, where it was supposed to be beyond this imaginary curve, then that's what would happen to the water. This is what water does. It flows. It doesn't bulge up. If it can flow, it will. And if it can't flow, it will just fill up. Yeah? That's what water does. That's the physics of water. It's a very strong and powerful phenomenon. Yeah? Okay. So we're told to believe that this wall of water here is something akin to the wall we saw here being breached. Yeah? Real water optical phenomenon, okay? It's not curvature. Water doesn't do that, yeah? So, of course, the usual people jumped all over this as wonderful proof. It's got 12,000 views. And so, it just shows that the people who come along and like all this, they're just, they're not using their discernment, I'm afraid. Yeah? It's quite sad, but predictable. Yeah? So, real water, optical effect. And again, this is where the sun could come up. If something can be hidden like this behind this apparent wall of water, that's what can happen to the sun. So thanks a lot, Olivia, Joseph. Nice one there. Yeah? That's enough for now. It's been fun. So thanks very much. And see you again soon. Thank you.